Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, this is Josh, and here we have another StarCraft 2 commentary brought to you by PokerDiscounts.com. And this game is actually being played between OGS Ensnare, who is like a Terran Godzilla in South Korea right now. He's just crushing everything. People fear him as if he was a giant lizard walking out of the ocean towards their city. And his opponent today is his teammate, OGS TheSTc, who likewise has been destroying everything recently over in South Korea. So these OGS guys are not to be messed with, and now they're playing each other for the chance at some money. This is being played for the WTA Takedown. It's their first real big live event over there in South Korea, so this game is being played from the finals, and I'm watching it with fresh eyes. I know who wins the series, but I don't know who wins this particular game, so I don't often do this where I just completely start from scratch and watch a game, because I like to make sure that it's not incredibly boring or that I don't miss some crazy thing throughout. But if I miss something, I'll try to go back and catch it. I'll just use my handy-dandy replay timer. But yeah, I just felt like doing something a little different today, and since both of these players are such monsters over there in South Korea, I just know the game is going to be awesome. So let's see what they end up coming up with. And it looks like Ensnare is going to just be starting with some pretty standard stuff. Depot, barracks, refinery. Going to have enough minerals when this barracks finishes to actually get an orbital command right on time, and probably one marine. That's pretty much what I like to do, but I'm no South Korean pro. And the STC is actually doing the exact same thing. He did get his refinery up, already has 3 on gas. Ensnare doing pretty much the same thing. Does get that marine right away, but he still has an SCV building, so his timing is just a little screwed up if he wants that orbital command. Wow, he actually built another SCV when he could have built the orbital command. Definitely would not recommend doing that, as getting that mule right away is just an advantage. There goes the orbital command. His opponent is already almost done, so Ensnare falling a little bit behind because he chose to build an extra SCV. And both players scouting around now. It looks like STC has checked the bottom first, as has Ensnare. So both players not going to find their opponent right away. They are going to narrow it down at the same time and know exactly where the other guy is. TVT sometimes can be exciting, sometimes can be very boring. So hopefully these guys actually give us some interesting stuff. Well, this is actually kind of curious here. Both players building their factory off to the side here. Maybe that's to avoid being scanned, but can't imagine these players blowing scans so early when mules are super valuable right now. But refinery is going up for both players basically at the same time. These guys, I'm sure, have played quite a lot of games against each other. Korean pro gamers usually do play 10 to 12 hours a day and only break for lunch, so they've probably played quite a few games against each other. Yeah, Marines hanging out here for Ensnare. Reactor goes up and a tech lab on that factory, so it looks like marine tank combination for Mr. Ensnare, and STC probably going to be doing something very similar if I had to guess. He has not got a reactor on his barracks yet, but he does have a tech lab coming up on that factory, so he can also get some tanks. But he is getting a starport here as well, so he might even do a little switcheroo, and since he hasn't started to build anything yet, yeah, this starport is definitely going to be taking this tech lab, and the factory is queued over here to build another tech lab. So it looks like Ensnare is going to be ahead on units early, and that actually could be very huge for him this game. It looks like he almost started to build a starport there, but instead decided, no, I think I'll just get a supply depot instead. There goes the starport. Marines and tanks still coming out, probably just going to be getting medevacs out of that starport. STC, on the other hand, cranking out that first Banshee, not investing in Cloak just yet. There's now a tech lab on the barracks. I could swear I saw a tech lab add-on there planned for this factory, and he never built it, so instead getting that tech lab on the barracks, has not researched anything in that tech lab yet, and is not even using it for marauders. So kind of curious there. He did spend some gas on Cloak and then canceled it. So STC looks like he's flip-flopping around quite a bit, getting Stimpack instead of that Cloak. Oh, and now Ensnare shows up. That's why he canceled the Cloak. He needs immediate relief from this tank. Is just outside of range of this bunker. The tank outranges the Marines inside the bunker. Is going to get free shots, but now there's a Banshee here. It does not have Cloak, but it doesn't matter because Ensnare does not have quite enough Marines to be able to take that out. And stay in range of this bunker. So STC catching a little bit of a break there, getting that Banshee out in good time to chase away this tank and Marine combination from Ensnare. Ensnare actually probably could have kept going there and just had his Marines try to take out that Banshee. But now the starport has flipped onto no attachment. A new barracks has been built onto that tech lab, and marauders are coming out like crazy. Factory not even being used. Banshee now shows up over in Ensnare's base. The Marines are already prepared to try and deal with it, but the range on that Banshee is a little bit longer. Viking now coming out for Ensnare, going to be able to take out that Banshee pretty easily. So he did flip that starport over onto his tech lab so he can get a Viking and a medevac at the same time. You know, you actually don't see that very often. A starport can create 2 units out of a reactor, whereas a barracks and a factory can only make 1, you know, Marines or Hellions. But since the starport can actually crank Vikings or medevacs, usually you'll see 2 Vikings or 2 medevacs. You don't often see one of each, but pretty good scenario to do that right now. You know, 1 medevac for your bio, even could try a tank drop, and 1 Viking to help ward off any Banshees in the near future. So what is STC going to be doing? He's going to try to expand in this high yield area first, instead of taking either his back door, which is between him and his opponent, or his natural, which is also between him and his opponent. So I like that move. 1 Viking is going to be flying around and not quite catching that just yet, so he is going to be a little bit unaware, and 8 Marines are loaded into this medevac. He's going to drop it in the backdoor expansion of STC. STC is a bit out of position here. All his Marines are way over here in the middle of the map. He's trying to run home. I'm not sure if he actually saw it or not. No, he's not trying to run home just yet. So STC, totally unaware, still does now see the Marines coming in and pulls those Marines from the minimap. You can see he's coming on home. Gonna take out that supply depot and quickly move on into the mineral line. Just lets it burn down instead of hanging out any longer than he needs to. Takes out this couple of SCVs here. It looks like he is just gonna focus down SCVs and not even try to kill off the remainder of the Marines for the STC. So not sure how many SCVs actually died there, but it looked like a pretty successful little drop, as long as Ensnare wasn't too invested in that. He does have 2 Vikings and a medevac still hanging around. That high yield for STC is now taking effect, and Ensnare, oh no, how did that happen? Hold on, don't want to miss that, going back. Oh, a medevac drops right here in Ensnare's base, but Ensnare does have just 1 Marine and a couple of tanks, actually a few tanks, to be able to hold this off. One's already in siege mode even, so these Marauders are going to be killed fairly quickly. No real damage there to Ensnare from that drop from STC, and he is going to take his natural expansion. So if STC can saturate this quickly, he will gain a quick advantage. You can see he's already dropped a mule there, and mules are super effective on those high yield minerals. He's got 4 SCVs just idling here, needs to go ahead and send those over. There he does. And he's going to continue cranking Bio and Vikings here. So Bio and Vikings for Mr. STC. Looks like Vikings and tanks going to be the choice for Mr. Ensnare. And Ensnare is now going to do a tank drop over here on STC, and STC is once again out of position because he is more concerned with his high yield base. But these 2 Vikings see the medevac. They could easily have killed that and didn't, so these Vikings are going to run escort for the medevac. The medevac's still actually just going to say, no, it's too dangerous, I don't want to lose 2 tanks, risk getting shot like 1 time by a Viking and lose these tanks. So STC just hanging out still with his ground force. It looks like he might be moving across the map now towards the natural of Ensnare. Maybe not. I keep hearing random gunfire and things. Not sure where it is. I think he just killed a critter actually with this Marine. Or an SCV. Yeah, it was an SCV just hanging out there from STC. Sorry, panning around looking for stuff happening. It looks like nothing's really going on here. A Marine did just die there at the watchtower, so Ensnare knows what's coming. He drops his tanks and gets some siege right away out of those medevacs. It looks like he was planning to do a nice drop, but instead had to go into a more defensive position because STC was on the way. Ensnare saturating up his gas and his natural. He's got plenty of tanks and Vikings, but STC has decent number of bio units still here and is trying to expand again. Also has plenty of Vikings of his own. If we look at the food right now, it's 78 against 77. Both these players are extremely even on unit count at least. Ensnare does have a different composition. It's going to be pretty good against this bio, especially with that stem. Yeah, they didn't get to do much of anything before being blasted. And these two medevacs are loading up once again. We have a big Viking battle going on over the natural of the STC. It looks like Ensnare is going to be losing all those Vikings. This could be really terrible for him because now these medevacs have no real protection. He actually unloads those tanks, decides he is not even going to mess with the medevacs. He might as well send them along, though. Maybe not, actually. The Vikings will just take them out incredibly quickly. So, ooh, STC sieging up a couple of tanks of his own. Ensnare falling behind in this game